children of their own. So please welcome Chef.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm pleased to be celebrating the Republican Party with you. Absolutely. It is terrific to see all of you all here. You know, when we're fighting for liberty, then we are united no matter which side of the aisle we're on, no matter which side of the Tea Party side, or whether we're on the, what some people call the establishment side, and I would rather be with a group of patriots that are fighting for liberty. Absolutely. Let me tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit about why I'm uniquely qualified to beat Mark Warner, and then I need some audience participation. If somebody wants to time me for 10 minutes, and then there's going to be questions and answers. So I want to respect your time. So, you know, I graduated from the United States Air Force Academy. I graduated in 1988. That puts me at 49 years old, and I flew all over the world, and I went to pilot training, and from there I flew all over the world, and I flew over the battlefields of Iraq and the battlefields of Kuwait. And I flew the big KC-135, the 4-engine aerial refueler. You know, that's the one that lowers the boom, and the other plane comes up behind it, and they do the aerial refueling. Maybe you've seen some pictures of it. So there for a while, my professional job was to pass gas for a living. And you know, I say that, you know, I flew over the battlefields of Iraq and Kuwait, and I say that I did not do that for the thrill of flying. I did it because I had a job to do. I had a duty. You see, I raised my right hand like many of you in this room, and I promised to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that Constitution needs more defenders now in my life than at any other time. And from that, absolutely. From there, my last military assignment, I was a pilot in the presidential wing up at Andrews Air Force Base. I got out as a captain after 9 years. I flew during the President Clinton era. And that's the President Clinton era, E-R-R-O-R, the President Clinton era. And you see, at that point, I was 9 years in the military. And 5 years before that, my wife Robin was pregnant with our second child. And our first child had already been born. And now our second child's on the way. And then we heard some really terrible news. She was diagnosed with a rare form of bone cancer. The doctor said to us, you have to terminate the pregnancy. Well, it's one thing if you're something in theory. It's another thing if that something lands on your lap. And we chose life. So today our son is 21 years old. He's a medic. He rides the ambulance and volunteers up in the Centerville area where we live, and he brings life to an accident scene. You see the circle? Yeah. And as was mentioned, on January 14th of this year, my wife Robin and I celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary, and if it's all right with you, I'd like to introduce you to her. My wife Robin is here with us tonight. So, you know, our country's in trouble, and everybody in this room knows it. We are losing our Constitution. We're losing the American dream. We're losing the ability to grab ourselves from the bootstraps, pick ourselves up and move through life looking for the American dream. And when I was growing up, the American dream was to own my own home, have a white picket fence and a dog and 2.2 kids. Now my American dream is to get my adult children out of the house. And Mark Warner's not helping us. You know, Mark Warner promised us that he would not vote for the health care bill that would take away our individual rights to have a doctor. He looked at the camera and he promised us that he would not take away our ability to have a health care plan. Well, the great news is through the modern era of technology, Robin was able to take that video. She downloaded it from the internet. She stuck it on a thumb drive just in case he pulls it. And I now have that thumb drive in a nondescript location in an underground bunker ready to use against him. Because we need to hit Mark Warner. Let me finish up my comments, and this is where I need your help, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Answer yes or amen or absolutely if you agree with this question. Do it robustly if you don't mind. But if we collectively in this group and across the Commonwealth, if we hold Mark Warner to Mark Warner's record, we win. Okay, hold on. You know, you have to hold all applause until the end unless I'm getting more time from the timekeeper. But answer this one. If Mark Warner runs on a distraction or anything other than his record, who wins then? He does. So I need your help. If I've got a great big huge chalkboard up here, I want to split the chalkboard right down the middle, and on the left-hand side, I want you to tell me, I have no planted answers, I want you to tell me what are the characteristics of the United States Senator that you would like to hire this year. Give me a characteristic, I'm going to write it up on the board, just somebody. Oh, well, everybody at once, but I heard honesty, integrity, what else? A conservative. Believer in the Constitution. A veteran. No, let's write veteran on the board.
Non-lawyer.
Free market. Not a lawyer. Okay. How about somebody who understands how to read a balance sheet? Maybe somebody who has an undergraduate degree in mathematics or finance. How about somebody who's got a master's degree in finance? We'll put that down on the table. Okay. Now, let me ask you this. On that right side of the board, what are the 3 vulnerable spots that Mark Warner has? Obamacare. I'm going to put that up at the top. I'm going to star it. What's Dodd-Frank? Okay, the Dodd-Frank. Right up there. Increased taxes, career politician, cap and trade. You know, by the way, I think we should cap and trade Warner. Let's also put up here crony capitalist. There's a lot of things. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in the last couple of minutes of my remarks, I'm going to ask you to be serious. Because this is a fight. And for those who are going to the convention, I need you to absolutely focus on this, because we have to have somebody coming out of that convention that's going to hold the right side of this chalkboard against Mark Warner. Now, if I get a speeding ticket, and I haven't had one in many years, if I get a speeding ticket and I'm 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, and Mark Warner gets a speeding ticket, and he's 30 miles an hour over the speed limit, can I argue against him getting a speeding ticket? No, because my speeding ticket takes his speeding ticket off the table, even if it's 3 times as big. So if I bring something to the table that he brings to the table, I neutralize it. So folks, I got to tell you something. Inside of Mr. Gillespie's book called Winning Right, he wrote something that you have to be aware of, especially if you're going to go to the convention. And by the way, in full disclosure, because I know I'm being recorded by the Gillespie gentleman over here, Mr. Gillespie did not advocate for the individual mandate. He did not. Because the individual mandate in 2005, when he wrote the book, was not a part of our lexicon. But he wrote in his book this: a more rational approach to ensure health care is to make sure that every emancipated adult capable of providing for his or her health care do so. One way to accomplish this is to use the tax code to gain compliance. Well, guys, I'm just telling this to you. So if I've got a speeding ticket, Mark Warner's got a speeding ticket, it neutralizes speeding tickets. This neutralizes Obamacare. We take it right off the table. When I was driving up here, have you all seen the Enron Ed billboards in Richmond that are popping up? If you haven't, you'll see it. It's enroned.com. Enron Ed is something that Ed Gillespie did. He lobbied for Enron. When you're a 20-plus year lobbyist, you do things like this. Enron lost 20,000 employees. All of the 401ks, all of the spouses, all of the children were impacted. And Mr. Gillespie got paid $700,000. Can you see the commercials? So this takes crony capitalism right off the table. Because of the constraints of my time, if you all take a look at the record that we're bringing to the table, one of us will take a lot of things off of the table as far as talking to and holding Mark Warner to his record. One of us is on the left side of the chalkboard. There is one thing that you all did not mention, and I want to throw it out here. On the left side of the chalkboard, one of the characteristics of what we want as a United States Senator is somebody who can raise money. Right? I think I would want that as a characteristic. Well, I kind of fall short there. I don't have all those connection points. So maybe 9 out of 10 is not bad, huh? So I'll let you know this is my closing remarks, and then I'll certainly open the floor. I don't know how many here were at the convention last year. Maybe several of us were. Do you all know who I sat next to at the convention? Ed Gillespie. I have no problem with Mr. Gillespie. I sat next to him. Right next to him was his wife, Kathy. He and I started talking about this United States race. And he gave me his personal private cell phone number, and I started talking to him in July when I entered the race. In August, he called me back. He said, "Hey, how's it going?" And I said to him, "Mr. Gillespie, you bring a skill to the table I don't bring. You know how to fundraise." And I personally asked Mr. Gillespie to be my campaign finance chairman. Because he's got a great skill. We cannot ignore that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this race against Mark Warner is not going to be about money. This race is going to be about message. Because if this is about money, Mr. Gillespie and I may as well pack up and go home, because we do not have $250 million that Mr. Warner has. If we hold Mark Warner to Mark Warner's record, we win. So I certainly very much appreciate you all being here tonight. Thank you for having me. I'd love to answer as many questions as I can.
5 minutes for questions now, and then both Jack and Dave will stay around for questions.
Thank you very much.
Some general questions. And please try to keep your question brief so that Shaq can make his answer longer.
Yeah. Yes, sir, in the back. For those that might not have heard the question, the gentleman in the back said, "Shaq, I think you're a handsome young man, and I think you bring a lot to the table." That's what I thought I heard. I apologize. He said, "Will I debate Ed Gillespie?" The answer is absolutely I will. But I got a problem. Mr. Gillespie will not debate me. We have formally asked for a debate. We have formally asked the RPV, the Republican Party of Virginia, to sponsor a debate. We've asked Tea Parties, GOP associations to sponsor a debate. We've asked third-party organizations like Liberty University to sponsor a debate. And Mr. Gillespie does not want a debate. So I will go anywhere at any time, but he needs to be there in order to have a debate. So I appreciate your question. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah. Why do you think Warner went to Chicago to do this fundraising?
Why did Warner go to Chicago to do this fundraising? Because Mr. Warner is 97% with Obama. And that's where there's a lot of money with the Chicago-style politics. You know, here's an interesting statistic. Mr. Warner has missed 55% of the votes in his 5 years of being United States Senator and your representative. But he's voted 97% with Obama and with Harry Reid. I hate to leave you with this image, but Mark Warner is Harry Reid without the personality. Isn't that funny? It's just... Maybe time for one more question, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, sir, in the back.
I appreciate the financial background. I have one myself. I fell on the other side of the decision-making tree about the relative support.
You can come back.
They always said that if you get the nomination, you're in. I gotta ask, how do you think we just lost handily with money being a factor, and message being 150% correctness? How do we fix that this time if the money's not going to follow? How do we get the message out?
No, that's it.
And it's not attacking you. It's how do we get the message
No,
out?
but we have to look at the whole picture, and then I'll make this shorter than longer. Unfortunately, because of what Mr. McDonald brought to the table and some of those scandals, Ken Cuccinelli was connected to that. So Ken had to overcome a lot of baggage, and because of his time in his time in the Senate, of which he was my personal state Senate, he said certain things, and he brought certain baggage that he had to overcome. E.W. Jackson, we held a fundraiser meet and greet in our house for him. He's a great man. Brought some baggage to the table. So when you have to overcome baggage, it takes an awful lot of more money to do that. But I got some great news for you. Between now and the convention, we are fully funded, and we are able to absolutely knock the convention dead. So we're great there. We're still raising money, so I still need some help, so I appreciate that. Remember, I'm bad at that point, so I'll appreciate it. But after the convention, we already have spoken to Heritage Action. We've already spoken to the Family Research Council. We've already spoken with Gun Owners of America, which have already endorsed us. We've already spoken with National Association of Gun Rights. I'm missing all kinds. The Tea Party Express. We've already spoken with groups that have said to me, Rick Santorum gave me the absolute best answer when I asked him for support. Very pithy. He said, Shaq, you're on your own till after the convention. So after the convention, the message will win because we're hungry for a victory. Everybody in this room is hungry. Everybody in this room is a patriot. Everybody in this room recognizes that we've been given our inalienable rights. The inalienable right of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. The inalienable right to keep and bear arms. By the way, I'm packing. We've been given our inalienable rights of being here and assembling. So I just have one final question for you. One question you have to answer today. You have to answer 5 days from now. You have to answer 5 years and 10 years from now. Will you stand up and raise your right hand and promise to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States? Will you? Because if you will stand up and do that, I'll stand up and do it right with you. I'll be the standard bearer. I will take the fight to Mark Warner, and we will win in November. Thank you very much. Thanks.
All right. Excellent. Okay, Dave Pratt. Many of us know Dave already. I think you were a speaker at one of our meetings maybe 3 years or so ago. Although he hails from the